Yo, what's up YouTube? It's Connor Proto back here on the Triple Crit channel with another deck profile. And as you can tell from the thumbnail, we're going to be taking a look at one of my favorite decks today, but with a new build. And that is Gandeeva, but the order build. It's strictly Gandeeva Masques order build. But this is a deck that I have been working on a lot for a while, ever since we got the new Scarlet Flamme order for Dote. The first half of the order is good in Gandeeva. I saw people in JP teching 1 or 2 copies into the deck, and I was like, hey, that's pretty neat. What if I took that and then kind of just made the whole deck an order-based deck? So I did, and it actually plays really well, and it's really fun, and it hits hard. The deck is very consistent, drawing off the order, drawing off Shinri, and then board building using Latifa. You pretty much find all your pieces. It's just, the deck feels really good, really consistent. The only real issue you have to worry about is decking out before you can kill them. And as we start to lean more into defensive decks and decks having more defensive options, it does become a little harder, but this deck pushes really hard, so unless they get really lucky with their defensives, or I mean, are playing like Lascaria and just manage to, you know, get a defensive and then hit you with 5 blitz orders in a row to block out the rest of your turn, you typically can close this out on your second grade 3 turn at the latest. So let's go ahead and get started with the Rideline. Grade 0 doesn't matter, can be any Dragon Empire card. I went with the Hot Stamp Sunrise Egg because I like it. If there is a high rarity version of my Sun Sybil, I would absolutely run that because that's my goat. But I just went for the Hot Stamps. Any grade 0 is fine. Going into the grade 1, we are using the Vergilla Rideline. This deck does not really suffer from Soul because we have the Shinris. Also, the amount of cards that are going into Soul because of the Mask unit. Very rarely do we actually run out of Soul. So being able to keep cards in hand, especially pieces, feels nice. So I like using this one a lot. It also gets a little bit of a buff because this is typically a blind second deck. So usually I try and Scarlet Flamme into Shinri, and it just gives him an extra 2k, which makes, you know, the really hard guard even harder. Maybe it's a little unnecessary, but whatever. We don't really play him for the first effect. We play him for the Soul Blast 1 instead of discarding a card to ride up effect. Grade 2, we are once again running the Vergilla, the Shooting Star Vergilla. This one we run for the second effect. When this unit is wrote upon, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 2 card from among them, reveal it, put it into hand, shuffle the deck. If it is wrote upon by Vergilla, you can check the whole deck, but obviously we're not doing that. We use this to find Quimrud. If we already have Quimrud, then we use it to find pretty much anything else, because all our multi-attackers are grade 2, and then of course Latifa's grade 2. So if you already have Quimrud, you can use it to find any of your other rear guards, or even just the Fencing Roar if you want that. But if you don't see Quimrud, you are kind of cooked, so this pretty much helps guarantee that you'll find Quimrud if you don't open one. And then, of course, for the grade 3, we are running Gandeeva. So Gandeeva has a couple effects. The first one is auto. When your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, choose a card from your drop. You may bind it face down. During your turn, all your front row units get plus 2k for each face down card in your bind zone. And then if it has 5 or more, Gandeeva gets a crit. That part doesn't really matter because we are typically going into Mask unless something goes terribly wrong. Then he has, once per turn, his act effect is CB1, choose 5 of your opponent's rear guards with different grades from each other, reveal top 5 cards of your deck, retire all the chosen units with the same grades as the cards revealed, shuffle your deck, and if you retired 1 or less cards, draw a card, choose a card from your drop, and bind it face down. That part is important because the Gandeeva Mask does activate that ability when you RFG the original Gandeeva. So that's our Rideline. Grade 0 doesn't matter. Grade 1 is to save a card in hand. Grade 2 is to help find Quimrud and or any other unit card that we want off the top of our deck to really have an explosive first grade 3 turn. So going into the actual units we run, starting off, we run 4 Shinris for the grade 1s. Shinri is a grade 1 8K. When this unit boosts, if your opponent has 1 or less rear guards or you played an order this turn, this unit gets plus 5k till end of that battle. And end of that battle, put this unit into soul and draw a card. I love Shinri for obvious reasons. A 13k booster, extra soul, and draw a card. With this deck having 6 orders in it, you will pretty much always get the procker. If your opponent is playing something like Stokeia to try and deny your Shinri early game, luckily the new Scarlet Flame order is a grade 1 order. So you can get around that if you really want to. But yeah, I mean, this is just, it's an insane card. Any Dragon Empire deck that can make use of Shinri pretty much runs Shinri because she just does it all. Free soul, free draw a card, and 13k booster. I mean, crazy card. Good card. Shout out all the people who did not pick her up when she came out and waited for prices to spike to realize like she is a good card. I got my playset as soon as she was available. I think she came as a box topper. Don't ask me for what set because I don't remember. And then that's actually it for our grade 1s. We only run 4 Shinris. We do have a grade 2 that can boost, so that's our other booster if need be. But this deck also scales really well, so we're not too worried about having boosters. Next, going into the grade 2, we run the most insane card. I wish the other Mask nations besides Header would get these Mask Searchers also. We're running 3 copies of Dragon Tree Wretch, Torkai, is it an I? That is, I can't read. Torkai Quimrud. This card's insane. So when it's placed on rearguard circle, EB3, search your deck for up to 1 Mask of Hydro Gun, reveal it, put it into hand, shuffle the deck. So on place, EB3, find your mask if you did not open it. Then act, once returned, CB1, bind this unit, choose one of your rearguard circles without a Dragon Tree marker, put a Dragon Tree marker, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card with mask or Griffagilla and its card name from among them, reveal it, put it into hand, shuffle the deck. When you look at the deck by this ability, if your bind zone has 1 or less cards with the same card name as this card, look at all of the deck instead of the top 7. So essentially, if you open this on turn 2, you play it, EB3, search the mask, CB1, bind it, check your entire deck. You get your mask and your Gandeeva Masques just off rip. Later in the game, if you have extra CB and you are hurting for Persona Ride, you can use this. Also, if you're missing an order to activate your Shinris, your Latifahs, and some of the other order-based cards in here, you can just play this EB3, grab a mask, play it to play order for turn, and put all your stuff online. So this card's insane. We run it at 3. You typically want a mulligan for this. And if you don't find it, you will be able to check top 7 when you ride into your grade 3. And by then you should have found it because you're going to draw for going second. You're going to drive check, check top 7. So by then you should have found it. If you open it, just keep it. Crazy card. Deck thins you 2 cards and finds everything you need for 3 energy and a counterblast. Next, we have a crazy card that I originally wasn't going to put in this deck. A friend of mine told me to try it out, and I ended up absolutely loving it. And that is Dragritter Latifah. I, of course, play the best version, the highest rarity version, one might say, which is Gabe and Owner. We love Grandpa in this house. But anyways, the first part's just saying that this is regarded as Dragritter Latifah. That part doesn't really matter. So, the effect. When this card is placed on rearguard circle other than by a unit card's ability, so if you do place it off the draw call card from Scarlet Flame, it does still activate because that is not a unit card. If you played a normal order this turn, Soul Blast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with grade less than or equal to your vanguard from among them, reveal it, call it to rearguard if it's a unit card, and put it into hand if it is a normal order, then shuffle the deck. Now, the second ability, the second auto this thing has goes crazy in Gandeeva. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, this unit gets plus 5k till end of that battle for each of your opponent's open rearguard circles in the same column as this unit. This one is also ran at a 3 of because, again, the deck is very consistent at finding our pieces. If you already have Quimrud, you can search this off your top 7 riding into grade 3. This card is crazy because typically you will retire their whole board with Gandeeva, which means your first grade 3 turn you mask into Gandeeva. That's Persona Ride, which already puts Latifah at 20. On swing, their rearguard circle should be empty unless they played Bracing Angel Ladder. So you pick up another 10, so it's a 30k swing. And then at minimum, if you activate original Gandeeva and then Gandeeva Mask, you should have minimum 2 cards bound face down, which means unboosted on your first grade 3 turn, this thing swings for 34k. If you boost it with Durgham, which gains boost if you play in order, then it is swinging for 44. And that is assuming that you bound the bare minimum amount of cards off Gandeeva's ability. So the smallest amount you're getting off this is 34, 44 boosted, and it's only up from there if they had a whole field for you to retire with your Vanguard effect. Next, we run 3 copies of Dragritter Alpha Car. This is one of your multi-attackers. So it is a grade 2 10k. When your Vanguard with Gandeeva and its card name attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, CB1, bind this unit face down. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 grade 3 or less unit card from among them, call it to rearguard, and shuffle your deck. So this is one of your multi-attackers that not only ramps the front row by 2k, but also deck thins you a card. Typically, if your no OT is still in deck and you see one of these on the top and you have the extra CB, you do want to call it, because if you rip drag beta, you can activate it again. If you don't and you see a original Gandeeva, I do typically like to call that, just so you have a guaranteed RFG for the next turn to activate mask ability. Only time that's not as good is into Vergilla, where they can bind your OG Gandeeva if they know what they're doing. So, great card, multi-attacker and ramper. And then next, we have 3 copies of Durgham. So, Dragritter Durgham is a grade 2 10k. When this unit is placed on rearguard, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Eugene or Gandeeva, its card name Soul Blast 1 and EB3. Choose one of your opponent's rearguards, retire it. If you do not retire a card, draw a card, and this unit gets, very hard to read that red text, but the red text says at the end of the battle, your Vanguard attack, choose one of your front row rearguards and stand it until end of turn. And then if you played a normal order this turn, it gets boost. Never realized how hard the red text was to read on this card. So this one's really cool because if my favorite play to make on my first grade 3 turn is usually I'll typically have 3 bound face down. I like to go Latifah, and then slam 2 of these in back row. Swing this for 36, 36, swing Vanguard, restand 46, 46. I mean, big numbers. This thing can restand any front row rear guard. It can restand itself. It can restand the card in front of it. It can restand the card over here. Whatever. It just gets the red text to restand. Typically, you want to play this after you've cleared your opponent's board to make sure you get that restand effect online. If you're going to play a Latifah, I like to activate as much of Gandeeva's effects as I can before playing her, because if I find this on top 5 and I call it, because he does not say from hand, and they still have a rear guard on board, I have to do the Soul Blast, Energy Blast on place, and then I do lose the restand text. So before you start slamming Latifahs, you do want to clear the opponent's board as much as you can to try and make sure this is live if you check it off the top 5. Next, going into our grade 3s, we have 3 copies of Gandeeva. We have this, for a couple reasons. First off, you can rewrite from hand and then do his ability if you have extra counterblast to sync, and then mask from drop into Gandeeva Masques to activate Persona Ride. The other one is that you do have to remove this from game to activate Gandeeva Masques ability. So you do want to max out on these in your main deck. So we have 1 in Ride deck, obviously, so we can only have 3 in here, but it is definitely a card you want to see. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it goes to drop. If you have 1 hand, you can ditch it for the cost of PG, whatever. If you're able to, you can re-ride into it and then mask up into the new one if you want to double dip on Gandeeva's ability to ramp a little and clear your opponent's board out. It just depends on your current CB situation. Next, for our other grade 3, we run 4 copies of Gandeeva Masques. So This one, of course, as with all the mask cards, has the ability, can only be written from a grade 3 card with Gandeeva and its card name. Auto, when your opponent's rear guard's retired during your turn, choose a card from your drop and you may bind it face down. During your turn, all your front row units get plus 2k for each face down card in your bind zone. So same top half as OG Gandeeva. His first act ability is once per turn, remove a card with Gandeeva and its different card name from this unit. From hand, soul, or drop, choose one of the original act abilities of the card removed for the cost. Activate it without paying its cost, and this unit gets crit +1 till end of turn. So you remove OG Gandeeva, you activate his ability to choose up to 5 rear guards, your opponent's rear guards with different levels or different grades. Reveal top 5 of your deck, and then retire each one that matches. And then after you do that, this thing automatically gets crit. Even if you only have 2 in bind, whatever, it doesn't matter. It just gets a crit automatically. And then it has a fun once per turn, soul +1. Choose when your opponent's rear guard's retired. If you do not retire a card, draw a card. That one is pretty clutch for Durkham. If they have 1 unit on board you just cannot get rid of, then you can finish it off with that to clear the board for Durkham to activate its restand effect. If you do clear the board, you can just soul blast 1 to draw a card. Just make sure you are mindful of how many cards are left in the deck. Decking is one of the biggest lose rates that I have with this deck, because it just builds such a big hand. You just draw so many cards from retiring and all that you don't really need to worry about it. Next, going into our orders. So we technically have a total of 7 orders. One of them is a blitz order though. So we have 6 normal orders. The first one is the new Dote order, Scarlet Flame. As soon as I saw this card, I knew I wanted to play with it. I built a Varga build around it that I kind of really liked. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it in Gandeeva, and I love this card. So, first off, it's a grade 1, which is crazy. So, if, like I said earlier, if someone tries to deny you your Shinri, especially a Stochea player with like plant tokens, you can just slam this turn 1. It is draw a card, choose a card from your hand, reveal it, call it to rear guard if its grade is equal to or less than your vanguard's grade, and discard it if not. Choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards, retire it, and if you do not retire a card till end of turn, the unit called by its effect gets plus 5k. So this card's really cool. Let's say you're going into grade 2 against Vergilla, and they have that annoying 15k interceptor, right? Well, you play this, you draw a card, you call a card, and then you just pop it. And now that's 15 less K shield that they have. And honestly, you're on the Vergilla Rideline. Even if they've seen some Gandeeva cards from your hand, most of them are not going to expect you to play this. So they're not going to expect you to pop the 15k. So maybe when they're calculating cards they're putting back in hand, or they're planning how they're going to guard your turn, then they're not accounting for this card. The other nice thing is if you are in grade 3, I typically, if they have a full board, I want to try and retire everything that I can besides their front row rear guard. So that way, just in case I whiff on the grades, when I play this order, I will pop the last one left and then call the card. Because if I call the card, if I call Latifah into a Durkham, I do want Durkham to be live. So it gives you a little leeway. If they have like 2 of the same grade in the front, you can just really focus on the rest. And then pop that last one with this order if you need to clear the way for Durkham. And then, of course, you do still get the bind on the retire from this order. And if you don't retire anything, you get 5k. And if that unit was called on top of the Dragon Tree marker, it gets plus 10k. Which means, hey, Latifah called by this with nothing retired on a Dragon Tree marker, that's going to be 10. Plus 10 from these 2 abilities, that's 20. 30 from Persona. And then 40 from her own ability if there are no rear guards on their side, plus whatever you have bound face down. So the numbers can get crazy, and that's on your very first grade 3 turn. Next, we run 1 copy of Defensing Roar because this card is absolutely goated. If you don't know what it does, it is a grade 2 blitz order that you choose one of your guardians without Sentinel until end of turn, not till end of turn, until end of battle. It gets auto when this unit is retired from guard circle. Put this card into hand and plus 10k shield. So if you slam a front trigger when they're on grade 3 and play this, it is now a 30k shield. Turns all your other cards into 25k shields, turns your OT into a 60k shield, and puts it back in your hand. So Defending Roar OT is a crazy play. I had someone hard guard my prison deck at BCS. I swung 110,000, and thanks to Defensing Roar, they were able to guard it and put the OT back in their hand to guard some more attacks. So crazy card. I understand why I got put to 1. It literally has no cost. So I think that's insane. I don't know. Like a lot of other nations have like an EB3 for a 15k shield. This one says 10k shield for free, plus put the card back in your hand. So I think that card's insane, and I 100% understand why it got limited to 1. Some people still think it should just be banned all together. But as a Dragon Empire player, I have to disagree. Regardless of how I feel about the card's actual impact on the format. Next, our grade 3 order. We run 2 Mask of Hydrogum. We, of course, run only the highest rarity, Bald Man. I don't care what anyone says. This is much better than the frame rare. So, Mask of Hydrogum, if you're not familiar with it, you play it. There's no cost to play it. You just look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Choose up to 1 card with Dragon Tree or Mask in its card name from among them. Reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. This can grab Persona Ride. This can grab Quimrud. Whatever. As long as it has one of those in its name, then you are good to go. And then, of course, if it's in the drop, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard without Mask in its card name, reveal a grade 3 with Mask in its card name from your hand, ride it. Ride the reveal card as stand, and if you rode, put this card in the soul. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you did not Persona Ride this turn, you may activate Persona Ride. So that's typically why I like to blind second with this deck. You get a little early game aggression in, try and mull for some Shinris, and then on our first grade 3 turn, we just go straight into Persona Ride, plus however much we get to ramp on the front row with Gandeeva's ability. And then finally, for our Regalis piece, I run Radiance Caliburn. This is kind of a negotiable spot since we only run 3 of the alpha cars. You could switch it up if you want to play something a little more defensive. I like this because it can let me keep my damage low and still do my Gandeeva ability on my first grade 3 turn. Realistically, all I need is 1 CB, right? I take 1 damage, my first grade 2 turn, I use that CB to activate Quimrud to find my pieces, and then first grade 3 turn, I play this, countercharge, do Gandeeva's ability, and then from there, just pop off the rest of my turn. It's also good to draw 2 cards if you were having trouble finding your pieces. I mean, Pot of Greed is just a good card, so I like this one a lot. It was my pick for OG Gandeeva for obvious reasons. It was very counterblast hungry. I don't run any of the counterchargers in this deck, the grade 1s, so this is your only countercharger. So it just depends on how greedy you want to be, but you could replace this with something more defensive if you wanted to. Going into the trigger line, or before the trigger lineup, our Sentinel lineup, we just run 1 Elementaria and 3 PGs. You could go for 4 if you are worried about having the Defensing Roar Elementaria issue where you need to play them both in 1 turn. I typically don't find myself having that issue, so I am fine with running 1 Elementaria just for the occasional guard restrict that you need to get around with blitz orders. For the trigger lineup, we're going to run, of course, 8 crits, 4 heals, 3 fronts, because we are drawing so many cards already. And fronts are much stronger because this deck is just an aggressive go face deck. And then, of course, the GOAT Drag Beta. I mean, if a deck can use Drag Beta, if a Dragon Empire deck can use Drag Beta, there's no reason not to run Drag Beta. The OT is insane. I mean, don't lose drives on restand. You just straight up get to restand your Vanguard and swing again. And like I said, you know, let's say you activate Alpha Car, you call another Alpha Car on swing. Guess what? You can activate that Alpha Car to call another card. Now you get more attacks. Let's say you Alpha Car into a Durgham. Well, guess what? That Durgham's red text has not been procced that turn, so you get to proc that. You get to restand. So now you go from 5 attacks to 6 or 7 attacks. I believe so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you hit that, 6, 7, 8. I believe 8. Yeah, 8 is the upper limit. Of course, you would need to get pretty lucky to hit 8 attacks. I don't know if you can actually do it since I do only run 3 alpha cards in here now. But you know, 7 to 8 attacks being the upper limit of a deck that scales so fast and has a crit on Vanguard is just kind of insane. So that is the deck list for the order build, the order-based build for Gandeeva Masques. Like I said, I absolutely love this deck. I probably should have took it to BCS. I do that really fun thing where I change my deck last minute every time, and it never really works out for me. So I should have took it. I think this deck's very strong. It has a very strong first grade 3 turn. You build a big hand, so the odds of you dying before your next grade 3 turn are low unless you get absolutely sacked. And then on the follow-up turn, I mean, you should be killing your opponent. You rarely make it to your 3rd grade 3 turn, but by then, I mean, you really should be killing your opponent because you are continuously scaling with your face down bind cards. So hopefully y'all like it. If you try the deck out, let me know what you think of it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will be working on some more deck profiles coming up here soon. Some of them more competitive, some of them more fun builds that I've been working on. I'm gonna try and do a Eugene build coming up and see if I can make that deck work for me. I just love my Dragon Empire. But I appreciate y'all for watching. Take care of yourselves. Oh, hold on. I can't go out like that. Take care of yourselves, and I'm trying to like do a cool spread. And enjoy the deck.